Pipe Network presents.
For myself, so this is what happened, and this is a good segue on why I transitioned from a band to podcasting. Because when I was in a band, and like I said, I start with a theme when writing songs. I kind of want to send a message.
Mahilig ka ba sa usapang throwback about your favorite TV shows, movies, and even your favorite life memories? I'm Jimpy and I invite you every Saturday to get your glass of wine and join me and my friends as we rewind to the past with a sip of wine only on Rewind, a Throwback podcast. Available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and all other podcast platforms. See you there!
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode. And what an honor we have. Our guest of honor is here, and this has been a long time coming. This is a special episode, and it feels like a special episode because I have a very special guest, Jay Aruga, and he has his own show, Jay Aruga Show. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jay Aruga. Hey pal, how you doing?
Hey, kamusta? I'm Jay Aruga. Thanks for inviting me, Rajiv. We've met a few times in the past year, I guess, and it's the honor's mine actually that I'm here in your show, the Rajiv show. So
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for answering my call. It's been long time since we've spoken and long time we've planned this ahead, and sadly every time we plan it,
Mm.
it never comes to fruition. So now it's happening. I'm still pinching
Yes.
myself.
No, I'm
So yeah.
I, I'm not that big. I'm just a small time podcaster. So, but thanks again. Thanks.
Yeah. So before we get into the meat and bones of our conversation, let's take a time travel back to high school. If
Mm.
you and I were classmates
Okay.
in high school, who were you in high school, pal?
I was a rocker in high school, and I'm into the Beatles. I'm into so sometimes I listen to the heavy stuff as well, Black Sabbath and some Metallica. So pretty much a rocker during the high school uh, portion of my life. Although I still do some like philosophical thinking when I was in high school. I asked some existential questions like if God is all powerful, can He create a rock He can't lift? So I thought that's an original, but apparently a lot of other theologians already pondered on that question.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's me in high school.
Wow. So a rocker. I assume you had long hair just like me. You know, long hair, long beard,
Uh,
college.
during during high school, we were not allowed. I was in a I studied in a Catholic school, the Immaculate Conception School for Boys, and the priest there, they cut our hair if it's too long.
Yeah.
So they mess up with our hair.
Yeah.
And even in college, I studied in the University of Santo Tomas. I was only able to grow my hair long when I'm already working as an
Aw.
engineer. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
But I was very frustrated. I want to grow my hair long, but I can't. So Kudos to you that you have that long hair.
It became my signature. That's why I have to manage, take care,
Mm.
beautify myself from time to time. So yeah, interesting. Immaculate school and Catholic school. That's an interesting upbringing. Uh, but
Mm.
but that's interesting. How did you come about the influence of Black Sabbath, Dio, and heavy metal, and how did you manage to get a hold of music of such?
Yeah, contrary to uh, what people think, the students in the Catholic schools are mostly like secular,
Yeah,
and I met my friends there who are into rock, and I kind of I kind of like idolize them because they look cool.
yeah,
When we're not in school, they're wearing all black and they play the guitar. I
yeah,
see the crowd around them when they play the guitar.
yeah,
Everyone's mesmerized.
yeah,
So I kind of idolize them, and I tried to learn the guitar myself as
yeah.
well. I even joined a band with
Ooh,
my classmates.
that's
So
cool.
mm, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Any progress on that, or it did stay?
I the passion on playing in a band, it stuck to me up until I graduated. But after that, I realized that the time to play in a band and like have a be a full-time father and
Yeah,
husband and work as well,
yeah,
they kind of like don't match up. I remember when I was playing in gigs,
yeah,
I go home, I arrive home at around, let's say, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., and
yeah,
then sleep a little,
yeah,
then go ahead and work after 2 hours of sleep, and
yeah,
it's not healthy. Uh, I remember I drink this energy drink at work whenever there was a gig the other
yeah,
night.
yeah,
It's not healthy. I decided to quit the band if I want to further my career. I'm an engineer, by the way, so
yeah.
that's uh that's what I'm doing during those days when I was still in a band.
So yeah, I know, I understand. I mean, I have a father who's also a rock star, so I understand
Wow.
the complexities of working. But he comes from a musical background, so more or less music is the name of the game for him. So he doesn't suffer
Mm-hmm.
much. He really loves the during the day he teaches a band, school band, and then after that
Mm-hmm.
uh, he gets into his own band. So
Mm-hmm.
he's got a good life, pretty good life. Shout out to my dad if he's listening to this episode.
Shout out, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Durai Swami. Shout out to you.
Yeah, you pronounce my last name pretty good. People usually butcher it. I don't know why they butcher it.
you, you mentioned it earlier, so I kind of the the pronunciation stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so it's different when you read it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
They they wouldn't know how it's pronounced,
Yeah.
but since you mentioned it.
Yeah. So back to the storytelling. So band quit. What was your role as a band member?
Yeah, I had different roles. I remember playing the keyboards in one band. I play guitar in the other. Then I was the vocalist uh, like one of the vocalists and the guitar player of the last band I was in, Spacebar is the name
Yeah.
of that band,
Yeah.
and the theme song of my podcast was our song. So, uh, yeah, those are my roles. I love writing songs as well.
Oh, that.
So in one of my bands, I was one of the songwriters, and it stuck to me up until podcasting, because whenever I do the show, the Jay Aruga show, when I
Yeah.
do it in solo, I write the show,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'm particular with words. I I I choose the words that I use whenever I podcast, and I think songwriting is takes a part on that, because I'm kind of conscious on putting the right words on what I say
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, there.
That's pretty interesting. Songwriting. Wow. But what is your system of songwriting? Sorry, I my mic is acting up really weird today. But I gotta ask, what is your technique in terms of songwriting? What's the storytelling that you put yourself into when you write music?
Yeah. So yeah, when I write music, and it's been a long time, I haven't written a song for a long time. So sometimes uh, I have a melody, and I tried my best to remember that melody until I get close to a guitar and learn the chords. So I remember before, you don't have the luxury to record your melody, because the cell phones before are can't record yet.
Yeah.
But during the advent of the smartphones, I was able to record any melody that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
And there's the other there's the other way of writing writing a song, and I think this is what I do more often. So I start with a theme, and then write the words. I write the lyrics. So the theme is the first. I I I I think of like, hey, this is a good theme for a song. So I from that theme, I write the lyrics. And sometimes the lyrics will bring out the what tune or melody would fit it. So sometimes I think that's the more common way I write songs before. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, music to me, I hate songwriting sometimes. Earlier, I don't know now
Mhm.
about now, but for me, I often hate songwriting for myself because every time I
Mm.
write music, it's all about um, depressed. It's like Taylor Swift, ex thinking about your ex kind of stuff. I
Uh,
really,
it's
really hate
fine.
stuff. That's
Th-
why I
those
stopped.
those kinds of songs are the marketable ones. Sad songs, especially.
Yeah, I have some few
Mm.
couple of songs in mind, but yeah, those are the things that are yeah. I
Mhm.
really I
Mm.
really hate songwriting to myself sometimes because those type of music not my jam. But yeah, it
I
it's my style. I don't know. It's become a thing.
mm.
I feel like Taylor Swift
Eh,
when it
for
comes.
for myself, so this is what happened, and this is a good segue on why I transitioned from a band to podcasting.
Yeah,
Because when I was in a band, and like I said, I start with a theme
Yeah.
when writing songs. I kind of want to send a message through my songs. And
Yeah.
I don't know about uh the band. It takes a lot to be in a band. You need to go to gigs, you need to record,
Yeah.
and you need like the help of other people
Yeah.
in order to be in a band. And I wanted to give, like, my podcast is a conservative podcast. So that's the label of the podcast.
Yeah.
It promotes conservative values. So the message, like, I was into conservatism long before, even when I was in the band. And I wanted to share the message through a song.
Yeah.
But if I'll do that, I need to record, I need to bug like three other people, my bandmates, to
Yeah.
record the song I write, and I need to promote it. And we didn't make it big when I was in the band. That's
Yeah.
one other thing. You need to make it big for the message to hit more people.
Yeah.
So after that, I saw like I saw those flip toppers in YouTube,
Yeah.
and the rappers, and I was amazed actually. I was saying, hey, those guys could like rap, and they could put more message than what I can put in a song. In
Yeah.
it, they could put more message in a rap song
Yeah.
than what I could put in two verses and a chorus.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to that. I didn't go to that. I What I did is I said like, F this. I'll just talk on this medium called podcasting instead of singing the message.
Yeah.
Let me just like like uh talk about the message instead, and I'll release the podcast weekly, and it will accomplish the same thing,
Yeah.
rather than put the message in a song and do all those things with a band. So
Yeah.
that's how I transitioned to podcasting. But kudos to those guys who are in a band or who are artists who do those things they do. But unfortunately, I was not successful at being a band member, being a songwriter. So maybe the reason I'm podcasting is because I'm a frustrated musician. So there.
That's a different take on it, but yeah. I gotta ask though, what uh you mentioned earlier, you transcribe majority of your content now into a podcast. How did that come about?
Mm, mm.
When did the genesis of the podcast come about?
Okay, so I started podcasting 2019, and I've been meaning to do a podcast long before that. Before I thought podcasting needs a big production because uh, I listened to Mo Twister's podcast that time, and he had a big production. Uh, he had callers and call takers in his podcast. He have producers. He has a studio, and before 2019, I thought podcasting needs big production, and the format of podcast, I thought you need callers to have a podcast. But then I listened to more podcasts. I I came across this podcast called Hearts and Minds, and there are two people just speaking to each other about their thoughts on the world today. So
Yeah.
that's Trent Horn and Timmery Millington. They are the host of Hearts and Minds before. So I
Yeah.
realized, hey, you can do podcast pala, even without callers. You just like talk to each other, two people, and talk to each other. And then after that, Trent Horn, the co-host of Timmery, left that podcast, and she's now alone in her podcast. She's just talking to herself or talking to the audience. And that's when I realized that you can podcast even though you're just solo. So after that, it made me like I wanted to start podcasting here in the Philippines last 2019 because there are not much podcasters back then. And I was thinking maybe if you're one of the few, you could like break into the industry of podcasting and you'll gain more listeners if you're one of the first podcasters during that time. So that's and together with the message that I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
I was like hype up. I'm pumped up to talk about the message and start podcasting. During that time, there's the 2019 senatorial elections in the Philippines,
Yeah.
and the debate is so heavy on both sides. Like there are pro Duterte and anti Duterte. So Duterte is the former president of the Philippines. To those
Yeah.
who don't know, and the debate is so brutal. So I started my podcasting with the first episode entitled Open Mindedness, actually. And it teaches how to be open minded. And I just gave my thoughts on how I talk to people in the internet, how I quote unquote debate. So I asked basically the question if how just how to be open minded. Like I gave tips like always assume that you could be wrong, or whenever you make a statement, please consider that please consider how it can be falsified. So those are the main uh, thoughts from the first episode of the Jay Aruga show, which you can still listen to if you go to the Jay Aruga show Spotify channel.
Yeah.
There.
What an interesting man. I gotta ask this. This is one of my last questions because Zoom just reminded me that we have only 40 minutes. What is your
Ooh.
philosophy in life?
Yeah. This is a good question. I haven't thought about it that much right now. But before Rajiv, uh, I'm I'm somewhat like I'm one you can call religious these days.
Yeah.
I'm into my Catholic faith. Uh, seriously, I'm a very practicing Catholic these days.
Yeah.
And before I got to this point, my philosophy at first is you can just do whatever makes you happy. So that was my philosophy. That
Yeah.
was my philosophy. Just do whatever makes you happy. Because in this life, like i- if if you end up dying and you died unhappy, the only difference between like doing a life worth living and not worth living is like the happiness in between. So
Yeah.
that was my philosophy. But I then realized that if you do whatever makes you happy, I realized that what if what makes you happy makes another people uh, another people sad? Like parang nasasagasaan mo yung ibang tao. Like let's say a drug lord is happy, a rapist is happy, but the
Yeah.
person he rapes is not happy. So then I realized the next I modified my philosophy back then. Uh, do whatever makes you happy as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. So it's kinda arbitrary now because because sometimes there are things that makes you happy that don't hurt someone, like when you watch porn or fantasize like women, it doesn't hurt someone, it makes you happy. But the problem with that is it doesn't build your virtue. Like if you watch porn constantly all day, somehow it destroys you because you objectify women, and that leads me to the last upgrade of my philosophy. Instead of trying to be happy, my philosophy these days is to try to be holy. And being holy is hard. I tell you that. It's not an easy feat, but it's a good thing to aim. Holiness is a good, like it's something good to aim. Like uh the greatest saints are they're not like they're not a good person when they started their life, but goodness is like it's something hard. It's not easy to achieve, but because you keep on aiming that the virtues, the different virtues, chastity, charity, kindness, patience, all those virtues, they're good to aim, and hopefully it makes you a good person and it makes this world a better place. So be a saint. So that's
Yeah.
my philosophy. It's from Patrick Coffin. Be a saint, because what else is there? So what else is to aim?
Yeah.
So there.
Powerful. I love to dig deep into your philosophy, but sadly, Zoom doesn't want to allow me to do that. Perhaps on the next episode,
Yeah, we
we'll dig deep.
can record another episode. Yes.
Yeah, we'll record
Yes.
another episode in this time. But before we end this, before we conclude this conversation, I want to ask you if people want to listen and subscribe and connect with you via social media, how will they find you on social media?
Oh, of course. Just follow the Jay Aruga show. First, I the very first thing that they need to do is to follow the channel in Spotify, Apple, or wherever podcast might be. Then just find me in Facebook, Jay Aruga, or Instagram, Jay Aruga. Uh, just search. But the number one thing I'd like the listeners here who can hear this, uh, uh, the number one thing I'd like you guys to do is to follow any of the podcast platforms the J. Orga Show is in, and listen to the Rajiv Show as well, because
Oh man,
it's a very good podcast.
yeah. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for
Rajiv.
that. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you for being my guest. It's a huge honor. Thank you so much for being my guest. And I'd love to talk to you some more, but sadly, that 3 minutes, 2 minutes is up. So I want to say thank you for being my guest, and hopefully you come back to the show and we uncover some more of this philosophical side of life and everything. And I want to say thank you.
No
Like I said,
problem.
thank you so much. Thank you
Thank you
so
too.
much. Yeah. And for those who are
Thanks, Rajiv.
listening, we apologize with the sound effects and everything. I just my mic is excited to have Jay Aruga on my show. So yeah, it's a huge honor. So yeah, with that in mind, cheers, folks, and I will see you in the next episode.